Hi guys, we left Australia 6 months ago in January 2025. Now, did we make a mistake? Well, you'll have to see what we think at the end. Well, let me recap on what we've done the last 6 months. Now, we sold everything in Australia and we bought one-way tickets to Europe. We'd never been to Europe before, so this was a bit of a curveball, and after 41 years of marriage, we sold everything and yes, one-way tickets, and we flew from Melbourne to Zagreb, Croatia. Now, we stayed in Zagreb for 3 days because we weren't sure if we were going to get jet lag and how we'd feel after such a long haul flight. So we stayed in a motel for 3 days, and landing in Zagreb, it was like 3 degrees, and we'd left Australia and I think it was 38 degrees. So that was a bit of a culture shock, number one. And then just walking around, the buildings are just so different to Australia. You see it in books and on TV, but when you see it in person, it's totally different. And because, yes, we'd been to Vietnam and Thailand and New Zealand, but not this far afield, and it's certainly different. So from there, we went to Pula on the Istria coast of Croatia. Now, that was my place. I really wanted to go and see the Pula Arena. Now, I'll admit it did take a bit of convincing from Gary for me to want to do this. He was a lot more keen and I was more apprehensive. I'd been working from home for nearly 8 years and I enjoyed what I did, so then I had to obviously finish doing that and then selling everything. I did find that a lot harder. Gary had no problem. But anyway, we did that, and so we went to Pula for a month. Now, I did get to see the Pula Arena, and every time we walked past, I'd take another photo. Yes, I know, heaps of photos. But that was just amazing. It absolutely blew my mind. Now, I really liked Pula. I thought the size of the town, and every time you went for a little walk and you turn around, there was something else to look at. Admittedly, a lot of things were shut because it was winter. Gary wasn't as keen on Pula. He didn't think there was enough to do. Whether if we were there in summer or spring, maybe it would have been more attractive for him. So from Pula, we then went to Zadar. We were going to catch a ferry. Unfortunately, it got cancelled. We did get our money back, so we had to get a bus. Now, we stayed in Old Town in Zadar for a week. We just walked downstairs and you were in the middle of Old Town. It was absolutely phenomenal. I just loved, I would get up early while Gary was asleep and just go for a walk, and half the time walking around in a circle for an hour because it all little laneways, and I'd go down and turn around and I'd be back at the spot that I started because I have such good sense of direction as well. That really helped. But yeah, that was wonderful. We were supposed to spend another week, not in Old Town, in another area, but unfortunately our booking was double booked and a bit mixed up, so we actually went to Split a week earlier. Our host in Pula, she was really lovely, and we did a bus trip to Revenge from Pula, which was only like 40 minutes. But when we got there, it was just like stepping into a movie set. Unbelievable, little bay with all these little boats and all the buildings, and the laneways was so tiny, and you'd walk down and restaurants and cafes, but a lot were closed. Like I said, it was winter. But I can just imagine if you did go there in summer, it would be absolutely packed and you probably wouldn't be able to get a seat. So we rented this place, apartment in Split, and the kitchen was absolutely amazing, had everything you could imagine, so we cooked from home most of the time. It did rain, I think, for 4.5 days of the week that we were there, so we had to stay home anyway, really. And then we went to, that was on one side of Old Town. Then we went to another place which was the other side of Old Town. You just walked across the road and you were in Old Town. We were talking to our host, and her parents bought the property in the late 70s. Now, I don't know if it was at that time, but it used to be a barn downstairs where they'd stable animals, and then their house was upstairs where she'd grown up. And her parents had changed it into a restaurant. And I think it was about 5 years ago or so, she changed it into holiday apartments. So where our little apartment had been the stable, and then it was the bar. So that was quite cute to find that out. There was a guy that was staying in the apartment next to us, and he was having his 80th birthday, and apparently he would stay there every year for a couple of months during winter. He was from Germany, and really nice, interesting fella. He'd travelled all over the world, so that was good, and it's really nice to meet people and hear their different stories. So we were there for 2 weeks, and Gary loves Split. I thought Split was nice too, but yeah, Gary absolutely loved it. We did a ferry across to the island of Brack, which was only like a 40-minute, I think it was, ferry, which was a cute little place. From Split, we got a bus to Dubrovnik, which we only spent one night. We didn't really look around. We just did that to break up the travel time. And then from Dubrovnik, we caught the bus to Kotor. Oh my God, what a bus trip. And I don't like heights. And Gary had the window seat every bus trip so far. And I said, oh, how about I have the window seat this time? He said, yeah, sure. Well, what a mistake. Oh my God. It was windy. We were up so high, and you looked down and it was like a cliff edge, like literally, I don't know, hundreds of meters. And I wanted to film. Well, I ended up with my head in Gary's lap, just holding my camera, and for all I know, I was filming the back of the seat in front of me because I just did not enjoy it at all. And that's the last time I've had a window seat. Gary can have that from now on. So we got to Kotor. We stayed in Kotor for 3 nights. Absolutely magical place. Our apartment, you walked out onto the balcony and you were overlooking the Bay of Kotor. Couldn't ask for anything better, really. And Kotor Old Town was just so gorgeous. It was really magical. I guess that's the word I'd use. Really love Kotor. Gary has done pretty much all the bookings. I think I did one. So yeah, Gary's done all the bookings, and he's done a fantastic job finding some really lovely places. So anyway, moving on. From Kotor, we then went to Budva, which was only a short bus trip and nowhere near as scary. And Budva, we stayed in this little apartment. It was a studio apartment for 1 week, and I think it's called Becky Beach or Betchy Beach, and we walked out on the balcony, and you had a beautiful view of the bay area there, and to the left or the other side there was all the mountains, and it actually snowed while we were there, so we saw the snow on the top of the mountains, and then you had the water. It came over really cold. It was like opening your freezer, and then yeah, it started snowing. That was wonderful. I really liked Budva. I thought, again, I must like the smaller towns, I guess. It was wonderful. We walked heaps. We went to a couple of restaurants. We went to one like 3 times, and or might have been 4 times. So we went in, and the guy was always happy to see us and laughing with us. It was just really good. And then we stayed right in town in Budva, in this lovely 1-bedroom apartment. The lady had decorated absolutely beautiful. I said to Gary, I could just move in. It was just lovely. and you just walked out the door and you were right in town. That was really great. So from Budva, we then went to Podgorica, the capital of Montenegro. I think Montenegro means Black Mountain, I think it from, if that's correct. And I can see why the mountains are so high, and it was just like another bus trip from Dubrovnik to Kotor, except this time we were going up the mountain. And oh my goodness, and people just drive so fast. But anyway, we got to Podgorica, and Gary had booked this apartment, and it looked quite nice when we went in, and all the windows and doors and everything were open. I thought, oh, okay. Well, there was a farm, like a very small farm next door, and they had some geese and turkey and ducks and chooks, and I saw some rabbits and everything running around, and didn't really think much of it. So that evening, went to have a shower and grabbed the towel, and oh, the smell of cigarettes was horrendous. So the next day I washed the towels twice. I still was unable to use the towels. The smell, it was pretty bad. I was no good with the smell of cigarettes. Even sitting on the couch, it was really, really strong, and I found I was coughing all the time. But the thing Gary couldn't cope with was the fact there was a rooster that didn't know the time. Normally they will crow at dawn, and we thought, oh, that's no drama, you can handle that. No, this bloody rooster, every hour, it just crowed 24 hours a day. Then when it started, the turkey would start gobbling. Then the geese would start, then the duck. That would set off the dogs. It was just, you could not sleep. So after the third night, Gary said, no, we're gone. And I was happy because, I couldn't stand the smell of cigarettes. It just would not go away. I did contact the host about the fact of the smell of cigarettes, and when we booked, it said we have, Gary had booked everywhere that said no smoking, and she just really wasn't interested at all, to be honest. She just passed it off. So we left after the 3 days, and we went to Tirana in Albania. So we spent the rest of the week in an apartment there, which was a lot better. There was not a smell of cigarettes, and there was no rooster crowing its head off for 24 hours. And then we went to Ohrid, I'm not sure on the pronunciation there, in North Macedonia, and we'd booked there for a month. Now, every day we walked probably between 9 and 14 k's every day, just walking around, and every day we went for a walk we'd see something new that we hadn't seen. Somebody had said to us before we went there, 2 days will be more than enough. And we thought, what are we going to do for a month? Well, we spent a month, and I still think there were things we didn't actually see. It was just absolutely lovely. Did a ferry trip to St. Norm on the lake, which was just absolutely amazing. And our host, he was great. He actually came and took us and showed us around parts of Ohrid, so that was really nice. So from Ohrid, we then went back to Albania, and we spent a month in Vlora at the beach, and it was hot, really hot. And I know that they had that big heat wave, but yeah, it was really hot. I wasn't keen on the heat at all, to be honest. And when we would walk down the esplanade, there was no shade, and most places are just open with no air conditioning or anything. I wasn't really as keen as I thought I would be, even though it was on the beach, just too hot. And then we went to Tirana, and we were staying in this wonderful apartment. The lady renovated it, and she's done an absolutely amazing job. We go downstairs, there's cafes and restaurants and bars and grocery stores. There's one that's open 24 hours, and you can walk straight into the centre of Skanderberg Square, and it's only 2 kilometres just down the one street. It has been hot while we've been here, but the street we walk down's got lots of trees and lots of shade, which does make a huge difference. So we're here for another couple of weeks. So that comes to my question. Do we regret leaving Australia? Was it a mistake? No. I'm actually, well, we're both loving it, yes. But I am so surprised at how much I'm actually loving it. Way more than I could have ever expected. So from here, we're going to head to Kosovo for about three weeks or so. So our plan is to find somewhere that we can settle for 12-month visa, and then have that as a base and do more travelling without having to lug our suitcase, because even though we've only got a suitcase and a backpack each, it's still a bit of a pain in the bum dragging that around. So yes, who would have thought that we'd quit our jobs, sell everything, and go the other side of the world, where we'd never been, with one-way tickets. That's almost sounds a bit crazy, really. But life's too short not to try these things, and you never know. You know, if you don't do something that's a bit out of your comfort box, how do you know if you're not going to enjoy it? And so far, absolutely loving it. So we will let you know where we decide to try and get a visa for 12 months, and keep you posted on how that goes. Okay, bye.